Hello there friends! I have good news. From now on we will try to release videos more frequently, because our team got larger. So straight ahead, hit the like button and follow our channel if you haven't yet. Anyways, in today's video, Vitality is probably putting together an academy squad, Karrigan is following Hooksy's path, plus the review of first 2 days of Cologne, plus loads of other juicy updates from the CS2 scene. Without further ado, let's get straight to it. And we're kicking off today's episode with a true Counter-Strike legend, a man who single-handedly built his own organization and treated his players like his own children. That man is obviously Jason Lake, the founder and CEO of Complexity. In a recent video, Jason addressed Valorant fans. His main point was that Valorant players should respect Counter-Strike because without it there would be no Valorant. Like many pro players, observers, talents, analysts, and even one of Valorant's developers are former CS players. Jason also acknowledged the complexity of Valorant with its abilities and agents, but emphasized that the players shouldn't forget where it all started. He made this speech in response to a clip from a streamer called Jinxie, who claimed that CS is just a reaction-based game since it lacks abilities and agents with different skills and all that.
The thing about CS is there's like basically no abilities, there's no operators, it's kind of just swipe your wrist around, unless I'm mistaken. I mean, unless I'm out of touch with reality here.
Jason basically demonstrated wisdom by choosing not to engage in trash talk or respond harshly. Instead, he calmly laid out the facts and put everything in perspective without offending anyone. This is what decades of experience in both esports and business looks like. I have huge respect for this dude. Since we've mentioned a CS veteran, let's take a moment to reminisce about CS. According to several sources, Valve has no plans to bring back the Danger Zone mod in the newest version of the game. Insiders suggest that this decision is due to the mode's low popularity in CSGO. For those who might not know, Danger Zone was created to compete with games like Fortnite and PUBG, and it was also a battle royale. However, players were not really into it, so Valve decided not to carry it over to the new version. So don't forget to drop your Fs in the comments below. And since we're talking about complexity, we can't forget to mention the famous esports journalist Thorin. He recently tweeted that Complexity should look into picking up Perfecto, but he pointed out that they should give Perfecto some time to get comfortable before expecting top-tier results. Right now, Complexity is ranked 12th on HLTV, and there haven't been any talks about roster changes. But if we seriously talk about Thorin's idea, Perfecto would likely be replacing either Grim or JT. Stat-wise, Perfecto is slightly better than JT, but not as strong as Grim. Also, keep in mind that Perfecto has never played on an international team before. There have been rumors about Vitality and G2 being interested in him when he was benched in Cloud9, but those were just rumors. Plus, it's unclear how well Ilya speaks English, which could be a big factor for an international roster. Also, recently, this same Thorin analyzed Navi's gameplay and highlighted Bit's incredible skills and talent. According to Thorin, Bit isn't just an aim machine, but also a very smart and experienced anchor who can be in the right place at the right time. Thorin also recalled that Bit joined Navi in 2021 when Electronic and Simple were on the team, and even then he was showcasing some unreal level of play. If Bit had a bigger ego, he might have approached Blade and demanded a role change to one that requires more intense aim. But it seems to me that Bit is fulfilling all the tasks assigned to him in Navi, and even small changes like role swaps, for example, could impact the team's performance, which has only recently found its structure. What do you guys think? Should Bit change his role or should he stay as an anchor? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. But now, let's move on. And can you guess? Again, it's about Thorin. We have to talk about his recent beef with the new G2 captain, Snax. Thorin thinks that replacing Hooksy was a bad move because in his opinion nothing has really changed. He pointed out that the team is still playing the same way, relying heavily on aim. They roam the map for 1 or 2 frags, and if that doesn't work, they just push the site. Thorin also mentioned that during the Esports World Cup finals, Alexibi tactically outplayed Snax. He believes that G2 can only win with their current lineup by relying on their aim, and if they face a stronger tactical team, they won't stand a chance, like it was with Navi. Snax, though, fired back, saying that G2 has been playing most rounds 5v4 or even 3v5 for the past 2 years, slightly hinting at Hooksy. Or maybe Nexa? Anyway, Snax added that he can die confidently knowing that his team will still win the round. Essentially, Snax argued that things have always been this way and he shouldn't be blamed for it, though he seems to acknowledge some tactical issues. Interestingly, Hooksy also jumped in, saying he doesn't care about Snax's comments. He still thinks choosing the Polish player as a captain was a mistake, but he didn't give any other reasons, just saying there was no other way to respond. But if you thought the discussion ended there, you're mistaken. Snax responded to Hooksy's comments, saying that he doesn't hold any hard feelings towards the former captain of G2 and that he often just trolls during streams. However, the Dane remained firm, stating that he stands by his words and everything is just being taken out of context to amplify the drama. Speaking of other captains and how they stuck up against Hooksy, Karrigan has also come under fire. On a podcast, American streamer Austin suggested that Finn Anderson should think about retiring as a legend instead of becoming Hooksy 2.0, claiming his approach to the game isn't that effective anymore. He also pointed out Kerrigan's issues with aim, because if he doesn't get a frag, the team ends up in a 4v5 situation, which they win only 30% of time. With Robs' recent slump, FaZe's situation is getting worse. Maniac, a well-known analyst, also talked about FaZe's decline, suggesting that Twists leaving the team might be the part of the problem. He believes Russell often sacrificed himself for the team's success and constantly motivated the players to improve. His departure could be negatively affecting FaZe's current roster. And looking at HLTV profiles, Kerrigan's current rating is 0.8, while Hooksy's rating at the time of kick from G2 was 0.77. So it seems like FaZe might soon have to make a tough decision regarding the veteran. And my friends, it will be very interesting to see what will happen next for Kerrigan. Like, will he move to analysts or maybe take a coaching role? Who knows? What do you think, my friends? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep going. My favorite British player, Smooya, recently spilled the beans about the potential roster changes in his team. He said that not everyone on the team is taking the game and practice seriously, plus some players just don't have the right motivation. It's a real shame since the team only recently was formed, like Boros joined them at the start of July. Issues like these are definitely not what the owners want to hear, especially when they brought in experienced major players to get results and climb into top 30 of HLTV. Right now, Into the Breach is 107, losing 4 of their last 5 games. The interesting part is that Smooya personally promised the owners that he will play his best and deliver top-notch performances. And you know what, guys? So far, he's kept his word. In the last 5 matches, he only ended up second to last once, while he was topping the scoreboards in frags for the rest of the games. Now to roster shuffles in OG. Remember in the last video we told you about Karrigan joining the team, like the captain, the young gun who is just 17 years old. But like just recently OG announced that they will have more roster shuffles. This time Keto has left the team and Boz will play instead of him. And honestly, it sounds better than signing a new captain, because Boz was playing in teams like Mad Lions, Astralis and Entropique, which means that he's pretty experienced and he's still young. He could become the new star player on the team. I guess we'll only have to wait and see what he's got. And by the way, if you don't want to miss any transfer news, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate it. Before we dive into the match breakdowns, let's check out the tier list of best snipers according to Mauisnake. Among the top, he highlighted Shiro, Monacy, Zyvo and Brokey, while he ranked Fallen, NQZ, Story, Sarson, Alistair and Hyped among the worst. Interestingly, Mauisnake gave low ratings to Jame and Boro2K, despite their solid performances with the OP. It's also surprising that Torji from Maus wasn't included in the tier of trophy contenders, even though both he and Maus have shown what they're capable of multiple times. And finally, guys, let's look through the first matches of the playing stage at IEM Cologne, one of my favorite tournaments besides the majors. So in the morning we witnessed a showdown between the Mongols and the Portuguese from SAW. The first map was Anubis, the second was Ancient, and Dusty was left as the decider. On Anubis, the Mongols started on the T side and initially took the lead. They won the pistol round, but the Portuguese answered with a force buy. This seemed to upset the Mongols, who then won 5 rounds in a row. SAW managed to regroup and won a 3v3 situation that led to a 2v1 clutch, with a standout performance from Story, who Mauisnake had rated poorly, by the way. The Mongols took 2 more rounds, ending the first half 8-4, a decent score considering Anubis has favors in T-side. After switching roles, the Portuguese team took almost 6 rounds in a row. When it came to match point, the Mongols rallied and pushed the game to overtimes. They lost the first round, then won the second, but then lost 3 in a row. On the second map, the Portuguese couldn't impose their game. They started well on defense with a 4-1 lead, but then lost 10 rounds in a row. On the T side, they managed to take only 1 round. The Mongols likely didn't just expect such an easy game. However, everything changed on the decider. The Mongols managed to win only 5 rounds, and the first half ended with 10-2. Thus, SAW advanced, while the Mongols fell to the lower bracket. Meanwhile, there was a match between BIG and FlyQuest. The Germans chose Ancient, FlyQuest picked Inferno, and the decider was Vertigo. And the first map, Ancient, was memorable for one of the funniest and strangest eco round setups. FlyQuest players positioned themselves in the middle of A, which clearly surprised BIG. Interestingly, they almost won that round. However, this strategy didn't help much, as the Australians managed to secure only 3 rounds in the first half. After switching sides, FlyQuest won the pistol round, and everything seemed fine, until another eco round strategy, now from BIG. The second half led the game into overtimes, where FlyQuest seized their chance and won against the Germans on their own map pick. The second map, Inferno, was a back-and-forth battle, with both teams trading rounds, leading to a tie in the first half. Then BIG won the pistol round, but lost a few rounds more, and it was 9-7. But then, they just said enough and reached 10-13. And the decider Vertigo started disastrously for FlyQuest. They secured only 2 rounds in the first half and seemed ready to give up, but decided to continue fighting. They won a series of 5 rounds, but then lost 1, leaving them very little room for mistakes. And it was a comeback and 11-11. And after realizing that they were at the risk of losing, BIG just tightened up their play and won the last 2 rounds, sending FlyQuest to the lower bracket. Next up was the showdown between 3D Max and 9Z, and everyone expected the French team to seize the opportunity they were given. In case you didn't know, they came into place of Bad Boom team, who didn't get their visas in time. However, the Argentinians had their own plans. First up was the French pick, Anubis. The French played on the weaker side and managed to take only 2 rounds. Although they had a theoretical chance to come back, but ultimately they just lost their own map pick 13-3. It was just a disaster. Next was Nuke. The Argentinians started strongly on T side, and it seemed like the spirit of Messi possessed them as they secured 9 rounds in attack. On the CT side, they simply cemented their success, sending the French team, who had their chance, down to the lower bracket. The opponent for the Argentinians had to be either Heroic, who were playing with the standing, or MIBR. And you know what? Many expected an easy win for Heroic. But it was all decided in the game, so let's dive in. First up, Ancient, MIBR's pick, and the Brazilians clearly knew how to attack. After winning the pistol round, they took 6 more, and further cemented their lead with a few more rounds. However, Heroic had a different plan, and they started to come back. First with 4 rounds, then another 4, and they brought the game to the match point and eventually won the opponent's pick. Can you believe it? Next was Heroic's pick, Mirage. And it seemed like MIBR had studied Heroic's defense under a microscope. After a very close first half, the Danes managed to take only 1 round on their own map pick. This was kinda surprising, since they usually perform well on the CT side. This disappointing performance led the game to the decider, Anubis, and there the Brazilians started to dominate right from the beginning, even on the weaker side, and it was 6-6 in the first half. And then a convincing win in the second. Heroic tried to fight back with Nerds pulling off a 1v3 clutch, but after a disastrous 2v5 loss, their motivation seemed to vanish. It was an easy game for MIBR, while Heroic fell to the lower bracket. Next up was the match between Complexity and Alternate Attacks, which honestly ended up just how you thought. But still, it brought us the first 1v5 clutch of the tournament. It all started on Inferno. Both teams were neck and neck in the first half, but at 8-7 something incredible happened. Just look at Holzerk here. 6 HP. Oh my god. And this round seemed to just break Alternate Attacks, as they didn't win another round on the CT side. On the second map, things started better for Alternate Attacks, with a clutch due to a Molotov in the pistol round. Then they even had a decent score for the T side in the first half. However, that seems to be all, as they only managed to get 3 more for the rest of the game. With that single amazing clutch, Holzerk led his team to victory, completely destroying the opponent's morale. Next, we had one of the most exciting matches, Falcons vs Eternal Fire. It's important to know that before the series, Falcons hadn't won a single map. It all started on Vertigo, which the Turks took without much difficulty. The first half, complete dominance by Eternal Fire, 8-4, and a comeback for Falcons, hard to believe. The second pistol round began with a knife fight, and despite the extra money for the knife kill, Maiden won a crucial round. But that was basically the end of it, as the Sheikh's team didn't win another round. However, on their pick, Falcons felt good, and just listen to it. A 1v5 clutch from Snappy, which worked out just because the Turks ran out of time. It wasn't as flashy as Holzerk's, but a clutch is a clutch. And it was the first one in 11 years of play for the Danish captain. So with boosted morale, Falcons began taking rounds one after another, reaching a 9-3 lead in the first half. They even prevented Centaurus from getting an ace and ultimately dominated their pick. So it was about the decider, which could have gone to overtimes, but let's go through it step by step. The Turks played strongly on the T side, leading 7-5, with Waksik clutching a 1v3. After switching sides, Eternal Fire were trying to win, but Dupree had other plans. The Danish veteran pulled off a crucial ace, significantly boosting his team's morale. What followed was a back-and-forth battle that could have ended at 11-12, but Senpaius made a crucial error by failing to kill an opponent who approached him with a knife. This mistake cost Falcons the final round, sending them to the lower bracket. Next up, we were treated with the Brazilian derby, Imperial vs Furia, with Falling facing his former team. So it all began with Imperial's pick, and they executed their game plan flawlessly. In the first half, Furia can only secure the pistol round and the second round. The second half started with Imperial's dominance as well, although they nearly lost an eco, but DCT's 1v2 clutch sealed the deal. From there, it was smooth sailing for Imperial, and Furia ended up losing the first map in a landslide. Next was Nuke, Furia's pick. And this one felt much closer, at least for the first 6 rounds. And just take a look at this beauty in the second round. Cello single-handedly won it with a Tech 9 against 3. After this, the game stabilized a bit, and Furia managed to get to 7-5 by the end of the first half, a decent score considering they were on T side. The second half saw both teams taking turns winning rounds, and the game was so close that it probably gave all the Brazilian fans heart attacks. Despite the back-and-forth nature of the game, Furia's advantage from the first half allowed them to edge out their opponents and win the map. The decider was Inferno, and both teams are known for playing this map well, so everyone was waiting for a close match, but things took an unexpected turn. Furia went completely mad. They just dismantled Imperial, 13-0. And the final match of the first day was Liquid vs Pain. The first map was Anubis, where Liquid started on the stronger side and took full advantage, 9-3. However, no win guaranteed yet, because Pain switched to the stronger side and decided to come back. They just mirrored Liquid's performance. 1-9, while Liquid got only 3, pushing the map into overtimes. There, Liquid nearly lost due to a Molotov, but JKS clutched with a crucial 1v1. won. By the way, this was JKS's second official match with Liquid and his best performance in the past year. Liquid then swept all 3 rounds in defense, leaving Pain with no room for mistakes, and the decisive moment came at 15-13 when Lux missed through a Molotov, blocking his own teammates. Liquid seized the opportunity, took advantage of positions and closed out the first map. Next was Inferno, starting similarly to the previous map, Liquid on the attack, ending with the first half 9-3. Pain began another comeback, but Liquid's lead was too large this time. Despite an incredible 1v3 clutch from NQZ, Pain couldn't secure the victory. So the upper bracket looks like this: Complexity vs Eternal Fire, MIBR vs 9Z, Furia vs Liquid, BIG vs Saw, and the lower bracket, Alternate Attacks vs Falcons, Heroic vs 3D Max, Imperial vs Pain, and FlyQuest vs the Mongols. And we'd like to share a piece of news that's probably more of a joke than something to seriously consider. Vitality posted a picture on their Twitter with the caption, "Who would you reply to first?" It included messages from Apex and Xtaz and all the players. The captain suggested to become the 6th player on the roster, while the coach proposes to start an academy team. So I basically have 2 fan theories. First, it could be Perfecto joining as player number 6, or Vitality could be really forming an academy team. But honestly, without, for example, We Play Academy League, I don't see where this team could play. Anyways, this still might be just a joke. And by the way, who would you reply to? Now let's talk about the elimination matches. It all kicked off with a showdown between FlyQuest and the Mongols. The action began on the Australians' map pick, but things quickly went south with a disastrous first half on the CT side. They tried to make a comeback in the second half, but it felt like only Dexter was showing up for FlyQuest. He even secured a crucial 1v3, but even that wasn't enough to turn the tides. This led to an inevitable loss in the first map. Next up was one of the Mongols' best maps, Ancient, and they demonstrated their dominance with a phenomenal performance. 11-1 in the first half, highlighted by a quadro kill from Techno. The Mongols ultimately finished off their opponents and sent them packing to the airport, as FlyQuest became the first team to leave the tournament. Meanwhile, there was an upper bracket match between BIG and Saw. As has almost become tradition, the match started on Anubis, and the Germans surprisingly got off to a great start on the weaker side. Tabson then solidified their lead by winning a crucial 1v2 clutch in the second pistol round. Saw tried to mount a comeback, especially since it was their map pick, but they managed to take only 2 rounds on the CT side. With such a strong advantage, BIG, now playing on the favored side, easily closed out the map. Next up was Ancient, BIG's pick, but their attack crumbled like a house of cards. Typically, when teams pick Ancient, they aim to assert their dominance on the attacking side, but what happened here was beyond imagination. The Germans managed to only secure 2 rounds in the first half, one of which was the pistol round. The Portuguese team didn't let this opportunity slip and simply finished off their opponents on their own map. The decider was Inferno, and the map turned out to be a highlight reel for pentakills. It started off with an ace from Karrigan against an eco round, followed by another ace from Jorks, but this time against a full buy. It was intense and we got 5-7 in the first half. Saw then won 5 rounds in a row and took the lead. The Germans responded with a 3-round streak of their own, and at one point the teams reached match point with a score of 11-12. That's when Saw's sniper decided to prove his worth, securing a decisive 1v2 clutch. Congrats to Saw, they got to the main stage of the tournament, while BIG were sent down to the lower bracket. The next match was the confrontation between Liquid and Furia in the upper bracket. Everything started on Anubis, picked by Liquid, and on the first map, Yuri decided to show what he's worth. Right on the pistol round, he made a quadro and solo won it for his team. Next clutch for the T side was about Skulls. And then Yuri shone again with a quadro, but this time with AK. All this led to 9-3 in the first half. and it was very bad looking for Liquid. But they started with 3 rounds in a row, after which we had swings, and because of the advantage gained by Furia, in the end it was an easy victory for the Brazilians. Next was Furia's pick, and just like in the last game, they decided to go with Nuke, and this time they played more confidently. They started with a streak of 5 rounds in a row, but then Liquid decided to turn the game around and took 7 rounds, all thanks to twists. From there, the game went on to a constant roller coaster, 1 for Liquid, 2 for Furia, then again Liquid, and the Brazilians responded, so eventually at the end of the map, Liquid prevailed. So it was all about the decider, Mirage, and here it seemed like Furia players just got too tired. Liquid took 8 rounds in a row, and of course Furia also tried to respond, but not that much. They took the pistol and the force, but further Ultimate interfered with the clutch, and that was it. Liquid won and went to the main stage of the tournament, while Furia will fight in the lower bracket. Meanwhile, elimination match for 3D Max and Heroic. By the way, Dexter made it to Cologne, and Heroic played in full this time. The game started with the pistol round led by the French. It's a 2v5, almost secured. But then, Siouche drops something indescribable. Next, Heroic take the second, and they have problems in the third. Afterwards, Joko took a very important 1v2. The team went on equal footing, and Siouche once again became a hero by winning the clutch of 1v3. But Heroic seemed to have spent all their energy on it, because after that they took only 1 round and lost 10 in a row. Next was Heroic's pick, and there they felt like fish in the water, winning the first half 9-3. When sides changed, 3D Max decided to try to come back, but all attempts were in vain. And Heroic took their pick almost effortlessly. Next, the decider, and Heroic clearly prepared for Nuke. In attack, they won 7 rounds, which is very good for a weaker side. And in defense, they didn't lose a single round. So in the end, 3D Max just couldn't do anything about it. Heroic will go further down the bottom bracket, while 3D Max leave the tournament. Another upper bracket match saw Complexity take on Eternal Fire, and here, oh boy. Well, the series began on the Turkish team's pick, Vertigo. At first it looked like it would be an easy game for Eternal Fire, but by the 5th round, Floppy secured a crucial clutch. While this didn't seem to affect the Turkish team too much, they still closed the first half with 8-4 lead. However, it seemed like their monitors just turned off for the second half, as they only managed to win a single round with defense, 1 round on their own map pick. Nothing short of humiliation. But this seemed to light the Eternal Fire, and on their opponent's pick they played at full strength. They started strong on defense on Dust 2, but Complexity wasn't going to let them have it easy. Grim led the charge by securing an ace, and the Americans took a few more rounds, leaving both teams tied at halftime. After winning the pistol round, Complexity dominated, winning 5 rounds in a row, and seemingly just relaxed as they prepared to celebrate victory. But Eternal Fire wasn't done yet. At 12-8, the Turkish team decided to mount a comeback, forcing the game into overtimes. And it was a true roller coaster, ultimately leading to a second round of overtimes. In the end, JT stepped up, not only winning a crucial clutch that brought Complexity to map point, but also inspiring his teammates with incredible motivation. The Americans finally managed to close out the map on their pick, securing their spot in the next round. Meanwhile, Eternal Fire will have to face the Mongols in the lower bracket. The final match of the day was the elimination showdown between Falcons and Alternate Attacks. You could say that Zonex's team was lucky to face this opponent, but what happened on the map was anything but expected. Anubis, the German's pick. After losing the pistol round, Falcon's captain decided to take matters into his own hands, winning a 1v2 clutch. However, Hyped quickly responded to this in the next round with his own clutch, this time a 1v3. The Germans went on to win 3 more rounds in a row, but then things started to fall apart as they began to lose everything they could. So 7-5 in the first half, and Falcons are switching to the stronger T side. They kicked off the second half with a 5-round streak, looking to close out the map. However, at 12-9, Falcons entered the site too late and failed to check one of the pillars, where Freeze was hiding. ending. He secured a brilliant, beautiful quadro, but it didn't really help. Falcons just went on to win the opponent's map pack. Next up was Mirage, a more familiar map for the Falcons, and they showed it on the T side. Their captain once again led the way, winning another 1v2 clutch. The next clutch fell to Magisk, who didn't let his team down, also securing a 1v2 win. So this put the team at 7-5 scoreline in the first half. The Falcons won the pistol round then and lost the force buy. After that, Falcons pulled themselves together and won 3 consecutive rounds, leaving the Germans with almost no margin for error. Even a few successful rounds weren't enough to save them, and in the end, with a 13-9 score, the Germans were knocked out of their home tournament. At least they won't have to spend much on plane tickets. And my friends, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. What a huge video we have, right? Don't forget to follow the channel, hit the like button and comment with whatever you like. We've got a lot of Cologne ahead, so I'm not saying goodbye for a long time. See you soon.